Everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, hey, thanks for clicking on my video. Most of the guys who are watching this video are probably not new, so thank you guys for continuing to look at my videos. I don't even know where we are with Married at First Sight. I don't know if we're halfway done. We're in episode 13, and in the past, maybe the past 2 or 3 seasons, it's only gone to like 16 episodes at the most, maybe like 18-ish. I have no idea where we are now because so many things have happened this season that have never happened before. And I feel like even though the experiment itself is only 8 weeks, it's prolonged on TV because they have a requirement to fulfill with Lifetime, I think, and probably some of their advertising. So I don't know how long this is going to last at all, you guys. But I said I was going to be here for the rest of the season. I made that commitment to you all. I'm going to stand to what I said. You know it's a struggle. But we're here to talk about Married at First Sight, season 17, episode 13, I believe. If you guys have never watched the show, I'm not going to go over the premise of the show. I did that in the very first video of this series, so feel free to go back and look at that video and look at all the other videos and be caught up on all these couples. We are in Denver, Colorado. We finally have the last wedding, and this is what I wanted. I wanted an entire episode of just Michael and Chloe, so I am happy that the episode focused on them. Even though we got to see some of the other people from the other couples that were at the wedding, I'm glad that they had like a couple moments to stand out, quote unquote. But for the most part, it's about Michael and his wife, Chloe. And I was so happy that that was the focus. That made me just excited to see their excitement. I will say, we'll start with Michael and Chloe. I like them together. Now, obviously, there's no way of knowing anything is going to be forever, especially with this show. You really have no idea, and everybody is normally happy and excited on the actual wedding day. But I think because Michael went through what he went through, getting set up at the altar on the national/international stage, that was a lot for any person to endure. Chloe seems like she's been waiting to get married for a long time. These seems like two people who really want this, and if you really want something, you're really going to do what you need to do to make it work. So I have hope right now because, again, it's very early on. So I'm going to say I have hope. I'm going to say I won't say they're going to make it, but I'm going to say they're at least going to try. And that I'm so thankful that they were both attracted to each other. They kissed at the altar. He seemed to, like, very naturally was always holding her hand or had his hand on the small of her back or was kissing her. And they just seemed very comfortable with each other already, which is always, always, always a good sign. They had some of the other couples who were in there, and I love that he immediately told her what the situation was after they were married and they had their moment together to just talk about, whatever, just kind of really introduce themselves. He told her up front, look, I was here before. I don't know if you noticed that there were some people in the crowd that looked, because for all we know, Chloe, that's another question every minute. But for all we know, Chloe's been watching the show, so she could have recognized, what are the chicks' names? Emily and Claire and Lauren. Maybe she recognized them. So he was telling her, like, hey, that's because I was supposed to get married the same day they did, and the woman, she just wasn't here for it, and it didn't happen. And I love that he was very upfront and honest with her about it. And initially, she was like, I'm here, and I'm here for a reason. You're here for a reason, and this is where we're supposed to be at this time. That wasn't supposed to be your wife. So I like that mentality. Hopefully she keeps going with that mentality, and she didn't just say that for the cameras. I know that some people in the comments on the social media pages for Married at First Sight and for some of the fan pages think that they say that Chloe gave off the vibe of being a paid actor. I don't know for certain. I really, really hope that's not the case, because these are real people. Whether the show sucks or not, whether these people suck or not, they are real, actual people who are really, actually, legally getting married. So I really, really hope that that's not the case. That she's just someone who really wanted to get married, and now she got this man, and they can be happy and all that stuff. The wedding was pretty. Her family and her friends, when Michael was talking to them and kind of explaining his story and explaining how he handled that situation, they seem to really just vibe with him. And it seems like everything's really falling into place. They both love dogs, love pets. They're all about rescuing animals. And so they have that in common. She talked about kids with his boys. They asked her, do you want to have kids? She was like, honestly, I've never had desire to have kids of my own. I'm not above fostering children. And, if that happened, basically, like, I don't necessarily want to push none out. That's not really my vibe. And Michael pretty much said the same thing to her friends, and they were like, oh my gosh, I'm sure in their head it was clicking like, oh my gosh, she's perfect. They're all on the same page. They think the same. This is great. Da, da, da. So on paper, it's looking really, really good for them, right? I'll say that. One thing that I'm curious about though. So the experts were very clear in not telling Chloe that Michael had been stood up at the altar because they didn't want to taint her view of the match, didn't want to taint her view of what this marriage could be. And I understand that. I get it. But again, these couples now have been married. I think they've been married maybe like 5.5 weeks or so. How does Chloe not know that she was not picked for the show? She would have heard of the weddings, right? And I imagine, granted, maybe I don't know, but I imagine if you have all these people that apply for the show, you narrow it down to like, let's say 100 people that actually go through interviews. Then you narrow that down to the people that actually get home visits. So once you have that small crowd of people that have home visits, I would imagine if they haven't been picked for the show that you let them know that. Because you let them know when they've been picked to say, hey, you're getting married in 2 weeks. So for that small pool that haven't been picked, my assumption is that you go to them and you say, hey, sorry, better luck next time. Maybe they don't. But again, I'm imagine if I go through the whole home process and then I don't hear anything for almost 2 months or a month and a half later, in my head, I have to imagine, oh, so people already got married. So even though they didn't come right out and tell her that, oh, the person you married was supposed to get married, in the beginning, how would she not know? I was really confused by that. Like, again, you know of the show, so I'm going to assume that your friends told you, oh, I'm sorry you didn't get picked. Yeah, I saw the show air, and these are the couples, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's also not airing in real time, so that probably helped a little bit. But again, I feel like she would have been suspicious that she hadn't heard anything in a while. So I thought that was kind of strange that was never addressed. But what do I know? After the actual wedding, and after he and she got to have a conversation and chit chat for a little bit, he brought her to meet the other couples. Now, the people who were there at the wedding was Lauren, Orion, Brennan, Emily, and Claire. If you remember, Cam just had heart surgery, so he's recuperating, and Becca and Austin were out of town visiting Austin's grandmother. So these are the people who came to support Michael and to meet Chloe. And just kind of give her encouragement and let them both know, hey, we're here for you. I did find it interesting when they're doing the introductions. Claire was like, oh, hi, I'm Claire. Yeah, my husband Cam isn't here because, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yes, in theory, that is still your husband. On paper, that is still your husband. You guys are separated. And the way she said it made it seem like, oh, I'm so sorry on my husband's behalf that he's not here. It's like, that's not really the case. And then when Emily introduced herself, she said, hi, I'm Emily. She never said, hi, I'm Emily, and this is my husband. Most of the time, I feel like that's supposed to be the natural order of things. That when you introduce yourself and your husband or your wife is there, you say, oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you. By the way, this is my wife or this is my husband. Emily didn't do that. So I can imagine if I'm Chloe, I'm meeting the couples, and in my head, I'm like, okay, there's supposed to be 4 other couples here. I see 2 couples and I see a single person. A, where's the 4th couple? B, how come the single woman is here by herself? C, how come the husband and wife or none of the husbands or wives are actually standing next to each other? And why didn't they say, hey, this is my husband, this is my wife? None of those words came out of anybody's mouth with the exception of Claire. So again, if I'm Chloe, I'm going to be like, this seems kind of odd. What is this, pray tell? What does this mean? Because, of course, at this point, we're assuming she doesn't know that one of the couples got a divorce or is getting divorced right after the honeymoon and the other one is separated. She doesn't know this information just yet. And I like the fact that no one mentioned it to her because it's like, no, let's let it be your day. You can find out everything later. Find out everything the next day. Today, just enjoy being married, enjoy the wedding, enjoy getting to know your new husband. Don't worry about none of that other stuff. So that's the wedding, and all the girls are actually, even before I get to all the girls, they're having their dinner. Lauren and Orion are sitting next to each other. Now, most people who've been watching the show this season are like me. We don't want to see Orion ever again on our TV screens. Because for why, right? So he broaches the conversation with Lauren like, hey, how have you been? How are you doing? She was like, I'm good. I'm getting back into yoga. And it definitely gave the impression that he wanted to hear not that he wanted to hear that she was broken or anything like that, but he was asking like, oh, well, how do you feel about, like, us, or how do you feel about what happened with us? And at this point, I don't know how long it's been since they've actually spoken to each other, but I think that's a really dumb question. And I'm sure, I'm going to hope and assume that that was a question that was fed to him by the producers. And they're like, you have to ask her this. And he's probably like, no, why would I ask her that? Obviously, I know how she feels. Like, she probably was like, this sucks. Like, we should have stayed married or whatever. But through this conversation, she basically is like, I did a lot of soul searching, and I realized that some of my actions are not me. I yelled at you and I took my ring off. I've never been that rash before. I've always been very logical. I don't typically raise my voice. And it reminded me of a time when I felt like this in my past relationships. And that kind of, I realized I wasn't healed from some stuff that happened in my past. And that led me to react to you in that way. And he kind of said the same thing, not necessarily about his relationships, but he talked about his mother and just the women in his family, how they were abused and they were yelled at, and as a result he doesn't like being yelled at himself. And we already knew that, but I guess they've both done some soul searching. So the whole point of the conversation was to say, I don't hate you, I don't hate you either. I'm discovering this about me, and I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to work on this, and we're just going to be okay with it. We weren't meant to stay married, but at least one thing we got out of it is that we became better people, or we're becoming better people. And that's always my hope for anybody on the show. Sometimes the person that you're with, I won't say it's not the person you're meant to be with. I think it's more likely that you are not in a place to be somebody's husband or wife. Even though you wanted to be married, mentally and emotionally, you may not have been ready for what being married actually entails. But best case scenario is you stay married. Second best case scenario is that you end things amicably and you both end up working on yourselves and becoming better people. So when another person comes along that you are actually really liking or vibing with, you are now in a place where you can be the kind of spouse that you deserve to be and that person deserves from you. So after this conversation, he asks her for a hug and they hug it out. And it's like, you didn't need to hug. And the thing is, I was saying to myself that Lauren is a lot better than me. Not saying I have to be bitter, not saying I have to beef with you. It doesn't have to be all that at all. But I don't need to sit next to you. We don't need to hug at all. I can say, what's up? And I can be like, oh, hey, Ryan, what's up? Yeah, I'm doing good. You doing good? Okay, that's really good to hear. And I can leave it at that. And I can be genuinely happy that you're doing well. But I feel like taking it a step further and allowing you to touch me, no, we don't. We are perfectly fine sitting, with a chair in between us. That works perfectly for me. I'm more than okay with that. But again, Lauren's not like me. She's a lot more evolved, apparently. And that's okay. I will not apologize for it. And I'm not about to change. That's all right. So that happens. And then, of course, since they're at the same place where they all got married over a month ago, they're all kind of, not in their feelings necessarily, but just kind of reminiscing about, wow, remember when we were standing here and what we were thinking and how hopeful we all were and blah, 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 blah. And it has Claire really thinking about Cameron and, still worried about him. She's like, I haven't talked to him all day. And, in her personal camera time, she's talking about how, obviously the marriage didn't turn out the way either of us expected it to, but we created this beautiful friendship, and I'm just so grateful for what came out of this. And I started thinking to myself again, I said, self, does Cameron feel the same way? She keeps talking about how, he's like my best friend, and I can't imagine my life without him, and maybe we're supposed to go through this experiment just to be in each other's lives and just have this beautiful friendship. Does Cameron think the friendship is beautiful? Did Cameron need a beautiful friendship? Seems like Claire needed a best friend. I don't know if Cameron did. I mean, he needs family. He has family, but he doesn't have like physical family that's near him. So maybe she could provide that. But again, is that what he wants? Is that what he needs? He wanted a wife and he didn't get a wife. So I'm very curious about, because we've only ever heard her talk about the friendship angle and how grateful she is for him and I'm going to be there for him and all that stuff. We have yet to hear what he wants from her and how he feels about the concept of having this quote unquote beautiful friendship with Claire. It'd be very interesting to get his take on that at some point. And obviously I hope that his surgery also went well and that he's healing well and that everything is going okay in that department. Then we have Emily and Brennan. They've been done for a very long time. Just neither one of them are willing to actually throw in the towel, but there's nothing there. The fact that, again, the first time we see them, or the first time that Chloe sees them, they don't even introduce each other as, oh, this is my spouse. Because again, even if I'm Chloe, I'm going to be curious, like, oh, so wait a minute, whose husband are you? Whose wife are you? Just so I can start getting the names straight and start seeing people together. And the fact that they didn't even introduce themselves like that is like, oh, yeah, you're not really looking at her like your wife. And she's not really looking at him as her husband. It's more like, oh, yeah, this is the dude I live with. And we got 3 more weeks and then I can be done with this. Without actually saying the words, that was definitely the vibe they gave off. Even the conversation that they had at the wedding, it seemed like they didn't talk that much. I would have assumed that, they would have been dancing with each other, reminiscing, oh, I can't believe, yeah, we were here, da-da-da. And I will say that this was the first episode where, well, not the first, but I definitely thought Brennan was being more positive than Emily. And I think Emily is definitely at her wit's end. She was acting immature. She is on the younger side, but I think the immaturity comes out the more frustrated and irritated that she is with someone. Because when she's not frustrated and irritated, she seems to be chill. She's about having fun, but she's also about having your back. She's also about putting in an effort. But I think she's past the point of doing anything. Because she's like, I've been doing everything. I don't have it in me anymore. I don't even care. So, like, she's drinking a little bit much and she's dancing, but again, not dancing with him. There's no real conversation happening between them. It was very kind of like, huh, okay. So the wedding is over. Michael and Chloe go up to their hotel suite. It's beautiful. He carries her over the threshold, which I always love. It's so romantical. And, whenever we have the wedding episode, I always remark on what the wives are wearing to bed because I'm always curious about what they pack to wear on their wedding night. Now, granted, this is an unusual circumstance because you're marrying someone that you're meeting the same day that you got married to them, but it's still your wedding night. So I'm always curious, are they just going to go for comfort? Like, I'm going to show you who I am right off the bat and you're going to see me in my flannels or my whatever. Do they go for sexy because it's the wedding night? Do they go for something in between, like a cute little short set? I'm always curious and I always kind of analyze that, right? This chick went to bed wearing a bathrobe. Who does that? So I don't know if that means she's sleeping in nude and she was covering that for the camera, or she had something else that was kind of revealing and she was uncomfortable with it, so that's why she threw it on. But I know if I'm Michael, I'm be like, what are you doing? Are you about to take a shower? Oh, you just got out the shower. Why are you wearing that to bed, girl? Who wears the bathrobe to bed? That just looked weird. I was like, that, I don't understand that. And then, okay, this is probably because I've been watching this show for as long as I've been watching it, this particular season for as long as I've been watching it. Because keep in mind, I said this is week 13 or 14. So that means that we are over 4 months in, right? After seeing what everybody has gone through and going on this journey with them, as I have every other season before this, I forgot for a split second that this is Michael and Chloe's first time meeting each other. Because I'm like, they're in bed. And she's like, oh, I can't wait to cuddle. And I was like, why would you cuddle? Just have sex. But then I was like, oh, they just met. I'm used to everybody else who's been there for 4 months. So I'm like, why would you not have sex in this beautiful hotel room? But it's like, oh, you guys. 702. Okay, thank you, baby. But it's like, oh, okay, you guys just met. I completely forgot. So, sorry for the interruption. That's my daughter. Hence me being mama's wife of one. Because I have 2 babies. Don't you dare come in this camera. See, she likes spotlight. Knock on the door again. Let daddy know you really got to go. So, yeah, I was kind of prepared for that. I was really disappointed that that didn't happen. It was just like, oh, we're going to cuddle. And that's kind of how the episode ended. So, it wasn't terrible. I'm glad we got that focus just on the 2 of them. I really needed that. I needed a break from the drama, from just the irritation, from the delusion, from just the same arguments over and over again. I needed a break from all that from all the other couples. So I'm really glad that we didn't get that this time. And so, yeah, that was the episode, guys. Let me know what you guys thought. What do you guys think of Chloe? Like I said, not everyone, but a lot of people online said that they think she's a paid actress. I don't really believe that. I really hope the show wouldn't do something like that. I think that's really, you shouldn't play with people like that. So let me know below if you watched the episode, if you think that she may not be who she says that she is. Let me know what you guys think about just this season overall. Do you see any hope for any of these other people? Any of them? I'm going to be honest, I do not. Not for a couple on here. Maybe Michael and Chloe, that's because they just met. So at least there's hope there in the very beginning, because we know you're here for the same reasons. And it's already been proven you guys have a lot in common. Outside of that, everybody else should kick rocks and start over and figure out exactly what they want, figure out if they're even ready for what they say they want, and then kind of move from there. But that's just my opinion. Make sure you guys like this video, share this video, make sure you comment below, and yeah, definitely subscribe to my channel as well, and I hope to hear from you guys soon.